Good afternoon, everyone. I think I've been, since morning, there's one term that we've actually been hearing the most of. I think every panel, every individual spoke about that term. And I think that's the topic of the panel that we have today. It's about artificial intelligence, right? I think, every single person spoke about it. And I think it's important for us to actually coin it. And I thought about it right now. It's like advantage intelligence, right? So while it's artificial intelligence, it's really driving innovation and efficiency using AI and analytics, right? So I'll now welcome my esteemed panelists. I have there are some people who are joining virtually, and then there are some people who are with us today. I'd like to invite first Kaustubh Laturkar, who is a Senior VP and Global Business Head at NSEIT. Kaustubh. Kaustubh comes with over 2 decades of experience, runs the digital transformation business at NSEIT. He's one of the founding members of, he was one of the founding members of Cognizant's artificial intelligence stream, driving market share across the globe. Welcome, Kaustubh. I also have Raja Sundaram, who is the Director, Software and Quality Engineering at Expleo Group. Welcome, Raja. Again, Raja comes with over 27 years of experience, and he's held leadership positions at Standard Chartered, Infosys, HCL, amongst others. Right. On the panel, I also have Lincy Therattil, who currently heads RISE India. Lincy has over 2 decades of experience in primarily running a Fintech mentorship program for Barclays. On the video link, I also have some members who've joined us digitally. I have Parag Deshpande.
Hi. Can you see me?
Yes, Parag, we can see you, we can hear you as well. Parag is the head of customer engagement at Axis Bank. He has over 23 years of experience and has held leadership positions at, obviously, Axis, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, among others. I'm also joined by Ratan Kesh. Ratan and Puneet. Okay, so we also have Ratan, who will be joining us shortly. Ratan is with Bandhan Bank. I think he's currently overseas, so he's joining us remotely. And we also have Puneet, Bhasin. Some of you may know Puneet. She's an international cyber law expert, right? So I think as those members join us, it's a pretty large forum that we have today. So, please bear with us for a couple of minutes while the other members join in. But I think in the interest of time, I'll just start with our current panelists, right? So, you know what, I took some time before I actually, when I was writing down on this topic, and I had some of my team members do some research and talk about, and my opening question to all of my panel members was supposed to be the importance of, how important is AI and analytics in driving innovation, right? But as soon as the first panel got over, I actually deleted that question because I think it came to, it was very obvious to me after A, B, C, D, E, and after the jam session that artificial intelligence and analytics and data is indeed very, very important. So I think it's no point in me asking that question because this answer by all of them would be 10 on 10, right? So, but I yet have a set of few other questions. So if I may start with Kaustubh. Kaustubh, people use the term, AI or digital transformation quite interchangeably, right? So how are they different or how are they complementary? Any thoughts on that?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here. So digital transformation and artificial intelligence, as you said, these two terms are typically used very interchangeably. But if you look at a digital transformation, I think probably digital is the word. If you kind of do a simple word cloud, you will see that that's a word that is getting used the most often today. Digital transformation is a world revolution, like your the inventions of steam engines and all of that. That's a world revolution, right? In simple terms, digital transformation is all about reimagine, reinvent your business using technology. And that's the reason digital has kind of gone out of the server rooms into the boardrooms as a discussion, right? Now, as you really drive digital reimagine business, you look at the customer touch points, transform that. Then you kind of look at the overall customer experience and so on. At every step, you are generating data, and somebody mentioned that every decision is generation of data. And more data that you generate, whether it is structured, unstructured, in the form of videos and audios and this conference and everything, right? Every event which is data, you cannot really analyze, digest that data with natural intelligence because of the limitations of the capacity. So that's where you need AI. And if you look at artificial intelligence, artificial essentially will help you in terms of running the show without kind of getting exhausted in terms of the volumes of data. And intelligence is all about interpretation of different type of data, right? So digital provides data to AI, and data for AI is a fuel. And other way around, if you really look at, AI provides the efficiency which is required in the digital transformation. So that's how both digital and AI are fairly complementary to each other. So we should always talk about data for AI and AI for data, and that's where people kind of use this term interchangeably.
Thanks, Kaustubh. So AI for data, data for AI, right? So if I can extend this to Parag, if you can hear us. Again, especially from a bank's perspective, right? How are banks leveraging AI or analytics, to what we call enhanced customer, to understand customer behavior, for enhancement of customer experience and so on. So, from a bank's perspective, how are you leveraging that?
So, all the banks are at a certain stage of their journeys, right? Many of the banks have already bought products which, they thought that will give a omni-channel experience to the customers. So, and then they're leveraging actually the whole data analytics, and it sits on top of it. And then utilizing the data that comes out, the intelligence that come out of data analytics in real time to service the customer or to anticipate and proactively service the customer. So I think that is, in short, if you ask me, a elevator pitch of what banks are trying to do right now, and each one of us are in this, journey. So firstly, we started with offering the multi-channel engagement. So chat got added, then we're looking at, WhatsApp has been implemented, and then along with our MBIB contact center and branches. So we adding channels almost every year, right? Multiple channels. Now the cross-channel visibility becomes an extremely important point. So that's where the data analytics comes into the picture significantly. How do I provide a consistent experience across devices of the customer, across the platforms, and across the customer touch point? If I were to kind of give you the use case that you want to implement or implementing. And to some extent, in many of the channels we have implemented, maybe a branch is the toughest channel to implement it, but because the branch interaction doesn't get recorded and not available to other channels. But all other channels, whatever interactions and insights that we got, we can extend it to other channels. Channel portability is important. So you start from one channel and you are able to continue without interruption to the customer. All this is use cases I'm talking about as omni-channel use cases, primarily driven by the data analytics that is sitting on top of, sitting behind it actually. And one more point where we're using, if you are, we have 56 use cases, by the way, out of which the one which have been kind of implemented is a 360-degree view of the customer, right? I can see all the relationships, I can see all the interactions, I can see all the broken transaction, if not every transaction, in real time, so that I can service the customer better. Then knowing their preferences is the second one. Behavior data, how do you behave, when do you call, when do you visit the branch, how do you use your card, when do you pay for your card. And the last is the spend patterns, how do you spend, how do you use your benefits, what form factors of benefits you like, whether you like reward points or a cashback or a voucher. All these are data that get collected, and then we can make an offer to the customer which fits their need. Also, the needs of the segmentation of the customer itself traditionally has been affluent, super affluent, but we're also looking at Bharat Bank, or not just the premium affluent, but Bharat Bank. Within Bharat Bank, we look at the premium customers in the hinterland, okay, or also looking at a millennial and Gen Zs. I mean, just taking this as an example, but
Sure.
many such cohorts emerge, and we need to see what is the requirement of these cohorts for us to really make sure that we are engaging customer better there.
Yeah, that's useful, but I'm also hearing that a lot of it is with some backing of some very, very strong technology, right? So if I come back to you, Raja, on while we've been hearing some real delighted customers using banks have been using data and analytics to have some real customer delight. So from your perspective, from a technology solution provider's perspective, how do you see it transforming or driving innovation?
Sure, a good question. The main thing that I see is that a lot of customers whom we have been servicing as a solution provider or kind of like service provider, we see that the technologies do cost a lot, of course, and there is a lot of responsibility as well, social responsibility and sustainability and environmental and other related services, depending on the regions. But the main challenge that what we see mainly when it comes to digital especially is that one is the technology change management, because the technologies keep changing every day, and you have to pick up and use the right one, and you have to run with it for a long time. And this is one common challenge that they have facing. And the other typical challenges that they are facing is mainly some, I think we heard in the morning, the security, because I chose this technology because it's cutting edge. But unfortunately, it is so cutting edge and it's so bleeding that I suffer a lot, and because I lose a lot of money. And other third aspect is that when I do this technology change management, my sprints, I have to change a lot, my stability of my, to meet my business requirements. Instead of the technology helping me, it's limping me. So these are the typical challenges. So this is where we come into picture. But in overall, if you see that, as you rightly said, there is no digital without AI in the future. So we see that digital is going to be more AI driven, more AI, and that responsible AI is basically what we are explaining, looking at currently. And mostly explainable AI, because AI is now, they are going to operate in you saw that how autonomous ChatGPT is. It's just a tip of the iceberg, what you saw in the ChatGPT. A lot more things to come, actually. There are a lot of much better solutions, much better, deeper LLMs, large language models are there in the market, but they are not taken the front seat like ChatGPT as now. So what you saw is only the tip of the iceberg. As a technologist, this is what I see. So all this autonomicity leads to a lot of decisions being taken by the AI systems, like it or not. But when these systems do take this thing, how are we going to create a governance? So this is where the data is going to come into picture. So this is where the data analytics comes into picture. This is where the data provides you the kind of governance. Explainable AI comes into picture. Responsible AI, sustainable AI comes into picture, where every decision that is taken autonomously, there must be a traceability, data lineage, because of this rule or because of this method or because of this algorithm, because of this particular situation, I took this decision. So this is what is the basic principle of common or complex event processing that's going to take in most of the analytics stuff. I stop here.
So I think what I picked up, and my next question to Lincy is, what you said, all digital banking is AI and all fintech is AI, right? So as Lincy, for you, you've been running this mentorship program at Barclays, and since all fintech is AI, what's your guidance to fintechs, and how do you mentor them to leverage the opportunity that's thrown out there for the fintechs that you're mentoring?
All right, just to clarify, it's not just a mentoring platform, but what we have is an engagement platform, fintech engagement platform. And as a bank, I think they've already outlined several benefits for a bank to work with AI, right? So what we do with some of these fintechs is help them understand what are the opportunities in the first place. I think it's very important to also not just create solutions for, for the market, but also be very clear on what are the problems that you're trying to solve. So the way we would work with fintechs is that primarily work to bring some of these opportunities to them. And digital transformation is very important. I think when we talk about digital transformation, it's not just a customer that we have to touch. It's also the employees, right? One of the initial use cases that I was working on in my career was that an employee is complaining that when we are working with Excel, it keeps crashing, right? And I'm not talking very, a decade back. It's just few years back that I heard this problem statement. So employees are also struggling. So how will you make customer experience better? You will be able to do that only when your employees themselves have the best solutions equipped, right? So a lot of things that we work with fintechs is to understand what can be made, what can be done to make our employees' life better. Be it automation, be it, I think he's used several terms. I also want to add another term, which is ethical AI, right? In addition to all the different AI, we also have to think about the decisions that are getting taken by some of these AI bots. Are they ethical or not, right? So that's also another element that we have to keep in mind. So these are few things that we keep experimenting with fintechs, and what the major recommendation that we have for fintechs is, don't try to be like the one-stop solution for all banking requirements. Be very focused or have niche skills. Go deeper because integrating with a bank on any solution is not easy because of the legacy challenges that are there. So it's very, very important to have very modular approach when you do approach a bank. Maybe this might be very contrary to all the 360-degree view discussions that keep happening, but it is very important to look at a very modular approach to make changes in patches, and then have a more holistic view of things.
Sure, thanks. AI has had an impact, on, what we've heard, of course, on the revenue, but AI has also been having a lot of impact, driving efficiency or cost savings for banks, right? With this, I'd like to pull in, I think Ratan has joined us. Good afternoon, Ratan. Ratan is an executive director at Bandhan Bank, having 28 plus experience across organizations, including ICICI Bank, HDFC, Yes Bank, and Access. Ratan, very timely, and one of the questions that, one of the points that we've been discussing around revenue enhancement using AI and analytics. But my point that I wanted you to throw some light on is how are financial services organizations using AI and analytics to streamline their operations and perhaps reduce costs and result in some, there has to be some savings that all of these technologies result into, right? So what role do AI or analytics play in helping banks achieve that objective?
Sure, thanks. My apologies for joining a little late. In fact, since Parag is already here, probably I was not needed to be part of the panel. Parag was, and we were working together till some time back. So quickly, I think I'll touch upon a couple of aspects. One, clearly, look, if I'm a bank, I'm a pure digital bank, then there is not much of a, am I audible clearly?
Yes.
Yeah. So then it's like I go to the YouTube and I keep watching Lionel Messi. It keeps giving me all the analytics to keep throwing what all I can see about Lionel Messi. But since we are bank, we are actually multi-channel. We have got a whole bunch of digital and physical channels. And to bring science to all of these, yet go back to the customers with a proactive and reactive responses is the real challenge. And therefore, our ability at one side is the channel. Second layer is the channel-led systems like the CRM, the call center, the chat, email, etc., and then the core applications. So AI can play a significant role in really bringing what Parag was talking about, multi-channel, omni-channel, real-time capability, and at the same time can bridge the gap between these three sort of layers. I'll take two examples to convey what I'm saying. Number one, for example, if I know that one of my customers have bought a ticket from Make My Trip using my card, now I know that the customer is buying a ticket. Therefore, I have a capability to go back to the customer and say, hey, you're buying a ticket, you must be traveling. If you're traveling overseas, can I give you a Forex card? Can I give you an insurance for travel insurance? Or would you need a personal loan for a short-term funding? Now, these capabilities can be one of the ways to look at it as a more proactive customer experience, which therefore, operationally, it's a lot easy for me to do. Not only that it helps in business generation, but it also helps me operationally to reduce the friction and the operational work at the back end. That's one level. Second, let's take, for example, a customer of mine is trying to use the ATM, withdrawing certain money in the ATM and is inputting the wrong PIN number 3 times. Can I go back to the customer and tell that, listen, you are actually inputting the card number wrongly, PIN wrongly, and therefore I avoid 3 things. 1, customer is happy because I go back proactively. 2, customer doesn't need to call up my call center. And the call center, if there are abandoned, the customer gets disconnected and then he sends an escalation. So I end up spending a whole bunch of money and create customer dissonance. But the third one is even more profound, which is that assuming that a customer is actually an existing customer on mine and the customer has a re-KYC pending because of regulatory reason, I may need to freeze the customer's account. Now here is the situation when the customer comes to buy one more product to any of the channels or for some service which requires me to collect the customer's KYC documentation. Can analytics throw to the channel saying that yes, we already have the customer's document or you are collecting a fresh set of documents and go back and remove the re-KYC flag across all systems and only collect the incremental document, which brings a whole bunch of efficiency at my operation channel as well as customer experience improvement. Of course, there are a whole lot of other things that we do, like for example, account opening today, we do almost 50% STP, which goes through 64 validations done using analytics and AI across multiple channels. Those reduce the requirement of physical verification, etc. So these are the benefits in terms of both business as well as operation, resulting into customer experience for sure.
Thanks, Ratan. While I do have a question around use cases, but I also see that Puneet has just joined us. So welcome, Puneet. Puneet is an advocate and an international cyber law expert. She's working across various domains around cyber crimes, e-commerce, legal, and I know she's been talking a lot about ethical AI, and I think very timely because we just alluded about it on about ethical AI a little while ago. So Puneet, as you've just come online, my question directly posed at you. The ethical use of AI is an important topic that we've all been discussing, right? And what measures or just talk to us a little bit about from the role from a regulatory standpoint to ensure that the AI it's not getting exploited or misused, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
See, the first thought that I have is, yes, AI is a big buzzword which is growing everywhere, but you need to understand it's still unregulated. The question of liability in case of lapses in AI is still questionable. Are you going to hold the organization liable, the programmer liable? How is it going to work? Like, I'll just give a simple breakdown on how AI works, a very, very simple breakdown. So AI probably has a way more complex working, but just for the audience to understand, if there is a program, let's say that says that in the situation of ABC, X should be shown on a screen. In the situation of EFG, Y should be shown on the screen. Now, let's say there is a program of this nature. This is a very basic level of artificial intelligence. However, if due to whatever reason, which is not man-made intervention, the system makes an error. So where instead of ABC corresponding to X, ABC becomes Y, for reasons where it has happened also in past and does not involve direct organizational intervention, Then the question of liability is a big one. So whether the question of ethical, unethical, the major issue that I feel with AI is the issue of liability. Then the question of it whether being ethically used, how it is being used, even to determine something being used ethically, there has to be a law in place to regulate it, to define what is it that you're calling as ethical use of AI. And in the event of unethical use or AI crossing certain boundaries, what would be the liabilities? Now, I'll just give you a simple example. Like, this is not a case of now. Like, we are discussing AI in India right now, but around 20, 25 years back, there was a case where a very famous footballer. Now, this footballer is very well known for his campaign. He was very well known for his campaign with respect to medicines related to diabetes and, sugar-free candy, sugar-free sweets, and, the whole movement of sugar-free products for diabetics. So he was a very well-known footballer, and he had openly come out with the fact that he suffered with diabetes and was promoting these products. Now there was a football match that was going on, and ladies, people in the audience, everybody, and one particular lady also in the audience who was present. Now, if you know, whenever you're seeing football matches, so even in India now you have this where in IPL, etc., you see different advertisements playing on the ground. So let's say if a particular player is a brand endorsee for some particular product, you see that the moment he will hit a six, in the background some ads start coming, on the ground some ads start coming related to that. And that's actually a projection, ad projection. So this is the same thing that had happened in the United States 20, 25 years back when they had the same technology in football matches when, if the player hit a goal, then immediately, on the ground itself, the projection of the ads used to start. Now, it was a very simple math that whenever this player plays, there were certain candies he used to endorse, which were sugar-free, and those ads used to play on the football field. Now, on that particular day, when he hit the six, there were some ads of candies which were there on the football field. Nobody tampered with the program, nothing happened. Now, post that, within 1 month later, he was sued. Now, he was sued due to the condition of a woman who was suffering from diabetes and ended up consuming the candy whose advertisement was there on the ground. Now, interestingly, that candy was not sugar-free. The AI program which was there did not support with this player, this particular advertisement should be displayed, but it got displayed. There was no answer as to how and why. The program did not seem to have an error. The logs did not show any intervention. So a lot of question marks which were there, and this man was sued for over $3 to $4 million because she was very critically ill. So she consumed those candies believing, he's normally a brand ambassador of sugar-free products. So when we are talking about AI, the basic issue that we come down to today, especially now since in India we are considering AI, so we need to consider those issues that have happened in countries which have already adopted AI in the past, where the first issue to be addressed is liability. So would you consider the footballer liable? Now, if he is not liable, or as a brand endorsement he is not liable, then is the company which was providing this AI service in the football match liable? Is the programmer liable? Is the person running the system at that time liable? And a computer, how can that be liable? So there are so many issues that come up, which in my opinion need first addressing from a legal and technical standpoint. And then comes the actual usage of AI.
Sure. No, I think this now opens up us, in terms of the challenges that AI has, but if I go back to Kaustubh, we spoke about, the challenges that AI brings, but, why don't you talk to us a little bit about the use cases that, and how organizations have benefited. Obviously we want to we want to be the ethical side of AI and not go into the unethical side of AI. So from the use cases perspective, could you talk to me a little bit about, and what are organizations seeing the real benefit of AI? So, talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So before I kind of get on to the use cases, just based on what my co-panelist was talking about, I will just add to that is, if you really look at the ethical AI, and again, we are talking about that, the underpinning data that exists today, even in the public domain, it is so much biased that, if you really go to Google and just kind of type carpenter or CEO or grandfather, grandmother, whatever, right? So you will actually see the data in the images. Those images are also completely biased towards a gender or a race or something like that, right? So for example, if you type, say, whatever, riding a bike or something, you'll see all images which are men, right? Or if you type CEO, you will see 60-70% of images which are more, inclined towards men and all of that, right? So the publicly available data itself is extremely biased. So back to the discussion that we're having in terms of making it very ethical in nature, I think there is a long way to go in terms of the usage of AI out there. Now, coming to the real use cases and not really treating AI as something which will solve all the problems of the world and all of that, right? In reality, what, in my experience, and again, the panelists can also add to that, is few of the use cases, I think, during the day, I'm also hearing a lot of these discussions out there. So I think you talked about the lending part and, the lenders kind of getting benefited because of that. So if you look at digital lending, is a classic example of a digital transformation powered by AI, wherein we are seeing the typical use of AI to acquire more and more customers on the digital channel out there, right? So, I'm talking about one of my customers in the past where the entire lending was happening in the typical brick and mortar type of a fashion. And after the digital platform, which was completely powered by AI, now they're acquiring 70% of their customers using that platform, which is completely, machine learning and all of that enabled, right? So that's one type of use case that we are seeing. Again, with the bankers out here, the typical banking related issue that many banks are actually facing is the customers are having, or for example, some banks have the customer to product ratio which is low, right? So, number of products owned by customers is lower than some other banks. So how do you really look at improving that type of a ratio and sell more products to the same customers? So when you bring data from all the channels together, when you bring in data from social media, the preferences that Parag was talking about, bring all 360-degree data for that customer. And then you'll realize that the behavior and the pattern of that customer is very unique. And based on that, rather than talking about a typical segmentation of 4 to 5 segments, one of the clients that I know was able to create 15,000 micro segments within that, right? Imagine the data having so many segments, which is where you're able to very clearly innovate and, offer some specific set of products. And the world is very clearly moving towards segmentation of, as I call it, as n equal to 1, right? All of us individuals are one segment in ourselves. So we all will have in some day products which are meant for us, right? And standard products, standard banking products which are meant for us. And similarly, while this is not related to banking, but clearly the life sciences industry is moving towards creating medicines for individuals. And that's all about this, right? So hyper-personalization through AI is a classic use case that we have seen to acquire more and more customers as well. And the third one is, I think, the panelists also spoke about how to really reduce, optimize the cost. If you look at multiple channels, the call centers, and what is your digital leakage if the journey is broken when you're calling a call center and then you come to the branch, right? So eventually, this is all kind of, coming up together in terms of the business use case. So eventually, while the branches will not be there, but if at all, when you enter the branch, they will recognize you as a person, right? Based on that, they will connect your image back to their complaint system and find out in terms of, did you launch any complaint few days before? Where was the digital journey broken? And your analytical engine should immediately tell you in terms of, for you to resolve the complaint, give this as complimentary offer. So by the time you walk from the door to the front office exec, right, the entire details are kind of ready and you offer it right up and there itself. So that's the holistic experience that we are talking, and that's where the world is clearly moving towards.
No, I think I just want to test this with Parag. Parag, I'm not saying that whatever Kaustubh was saying was he made up everything and he was lying, but again, from a customer engagement perspective, from Axis Bank's perspective, are you seeing that there has been quantifiable benefit? Is AI or analytics helping you to have higher number of products per customer, better cross-sell ratio, or are all of these metrics being tracked and are they on the upside?
I think attribution to a singular strategy might be a big challenge to do, but in Express product definitely helps us to build a better penetration and better engagement with the customer. But I wanted to kind of take you to a little bit different point that you were making about the challenges.
Right.
Uh, I would say that you made a point about data for AI and AI for data. I would say you also need to think about AI for run the AI effectively. Today we launch a digital only and digital first and digital only products. And have you thought about the unhappy path, or only we design everything from a happy path standpoint? Do you have people, when you launch this complex product, do you have people in the organization who can troubleshoot the problem? Because we expect the system to run in a certain manner. When it doesn't run, do you have people in the system who can understand where the problem is, troubleshoot quickly and give a resolution back? I think there also you need to have the AI, right? Today, if customer is dropping a journey on a certain page in website, and then he gets a call, we get a call in contact center. Okay, we should be able to find out why did customer lose the point there. I mean, there are tools like Google Analytics, etc. But I think when you have a complex orchestra of the AI, products working with each other, there you need to have the clear, view to the front channels on where things might have gone wrong, and then therefore we are able to go back to the customer and solve their problem on the same call instead of asking them to wait for 3-4 days. So I think these are areas where we really need to focus on, and always, Ratan has always spoken about BCP.
Sure.
When the AI doesn't work, I'm going to need a lot of people to do the same job which AI was doing. And I think in ops, that's a typical scenario when you have an unhappy path. So I think the important point here is, from a challenges standpoint, is can we have an AI for AI to make sure the AI runs effectively?
Digital banking without AI, fintech is AI, AI for AI. I think my last question, I think, Lincy, to you, and it's a common question to Lincy and obviously Raja. What's the one thing to watch out for in the next 2 to 3 years in this space, other than ChatGPT, that that you would like to add, or what's the one thing that's going to happen that you're excited about?
I think one thing that I'm really looking forward to is responsible AI. There are already so many terms used, right? So let me introduce one more. Responsible AI. Well, there is, I think lending is something that there's so much opportunity there, right? And so much has been discussed about that. But to really use AI in the right manner, it also needs to be responsible. And there are some very interesting solutions that are coming out, which is actually monitoring how lending is done, how certain decisions are taken, how the profiles are created. I think Kaustubh talked about segment of one. Segment of one is very important, and it is made possible by AI. But at the same time, that can lead to a lot of biases in the decisions that are taken for lending, right? So how those can be made a lot more inclusive would be very important, and this could then form the basis for not just impacting cost efficiency. Usually AI is often spoken about in terms of cost efficiencies and improvements, but there's also a lot of opportunity to create new sources of revenue, right? And that is where some of these measures can really help. I think Kaustubh again had talked about various use cases. But if you figure out the right model, the right formula, this is like a absolutely brilliant time to use AI. There was next best analytics that was discussed, right? But I've been speaking about next best analytics for 15 years. So it was not very effective then. So why is it effective now? Why are we seeing changes now? Why are we seeing improvements now? That's because the kind of data that is there, we are able to filter it better, structure it better, use it better, right? So it is very important that we also work with data in the appropriate manner, the right manner, so that we are able to benefit from all that.
Thank you, Lincy. Raja?
Yeah, sure. So main thing that I see is that Puneet's point is very valid. Who is responsible? I don't know what kind of algorithm they were using back then, but I don't think that in 35 years ago there was actually strong algorithms that what we have currently developed. If you look at, if you have to really implement a responsible AI, there must be a human intervention, or at least equivalent of human intervention. Somebody said AI for AI. AI for AI won't work. So again, current the state-of-the-art technology is that you have to use a reinforcement learning with human intervention, which is what ChatGPT is actually currently, if you see, or any large data model. So in order to ensure that we develop the legal, paralegal, and all these medical, paramedical kind of like brackets, in order to ensure that we have a safe environment, we have to create great awareness about the AI, first of all. And we have to ensure that the responsible AI come from the data lineage, and this decision was taken because of this particular reason. And with that human intervention, with reinforcement learning with human intervention, or you have a kind of like restricted, say, deep learning. Whereas when I say restricted deep learning, that's a new area where you have to have multiple layers, in which one of such layers ensures that these kind of like basically ethical checks, and which does all these ethical and environmental and various other inclusivity checks and various other related data to be validated before it filtered out, before it spits out the result. So this is possible with the newer data science, especially with deep learning and reinforcement learning, and more gamification is also possible. So this is what I see as the way forward. So one is there must be a great awareness. And there are AI advocates also coming up in the US. And these AI advocates, they speak pro as well anti. But the main important thing is that just like the free speech advocates, they have the kind of like clarity, that same clarity that we bankers and people who are the industry leaders need to have, that kind of clarity in order to choose when the say data scientist using that particular algorithm, just like a cybersecurity expert saying that, boss, you are using a sprinter which is actually has a buffer overflow problem. In a coding, we are able to say that very easily. So don't use a sprintf, it is actually buffer overflow problem has actually. But the similar kind of like expertise, we should also have our CTOs and our people who are technology leaders have to avoid that kind of algorithms, to avoid that kind of, or have a kind of like governance around it. And this is where the data analysis comes into picture. This is where the complex event processing comes into picture. Tools like there are actually multiple tools. In fact, so these tools are basically like, for example, Flink can do a lot of complex processing with high-speed data that's coming as a streaming data. And when you do all these things online and you are able to introduce, or you have a maker checker, and if that is actually possible because you have to have that many number of human interventions to be possible, or you have some amount of filtering to ensure that there is a maker checker kind of mechanism, that is possible. So this is the only way out I see to create a very ethical and responsible AI.
Got it. Thank you. Puneet, some comments from you on what to watch out for in the coming 2 to 3 years?
Yes, so AI definitely is going to be on the rise, where a large number of industries are adopting this actively. So it's not just the finance sector, almost every other sector is adopting it today. The only thing, yes, that would be a matter of concern again for me would be that the technology is growing way faster, things are moving way faster as compared to the governance. So the same thing as what happened with the OTT platforms, already released content, already there, and then people trying to regulate it. The same thing that's happening with cyber crimes. And unfortunately, it looks that the same thing is what's going to happen with even AI in the long run. Until and unless, even the legislature is keeping pace with the technological developments. Unfortunately, again, if you see the way the parliament works, the way a democratic system works, is that, a legislation has to go through multiple levels. And those levels take years. And technology is changing with snaps of fingers, with days. You see the number of platforms adopting AI on a daily basis is increasing. So starting from earlier on, it was only e-commerce platforms with very high budgets who adopted it. Today, you're seeing smaller budget platforms also profiling. A very interesting case I saw where there was a CEO of an organization where I was, having a meeting with him. And he simply had a small device kept next to him. And, at the end of the meeting, that device, a lady's voice simply said that, I've got it. And I was like, what exactly is that? And he told me, our organization, I will not name the organization, it's a very huge MNC. He said that, we are being profiled. So if tomorrow something happens to him, this virtual CEO understands his decision-making process, has that level of deep learning to act as the CEO in the interim till a replacement is found. So let's say if something goes wrong with him, he passes away, anything happens. So the organizations are having this kind of level of AI available with mitigation practices, and I was absolutely taken aback. But again, that raises a lot of questions on privacy. It raises a lot of questions on, how whether or not this is proper to do with employees, which was something which honestly I would say was my first concern. That if a person is carrying this device throughout to profile and create a virtual CEO, yes, I understand the organization is trying to keep a buffer. That tomorrow, whatever happens, at least for the interim, they have for their key stakeholders, key people, key organizational individuals, their organization shouldn't suffer. But there are lots of issues about privacy, lots of issues with respect to the data collection and the utilization of such AI that arises. So yes, I do see this kind of profiling also happening further in future in a larger number of organizations. Maybe these were the few that have started it, but a lot of organizations may go that way, which will raise a large number of concerns thereafter and make legislation even tougher. A lot tougher, because however easy it may seem, today it is actually overlapping with privacy, it is overlapping with your right to life, it is overlapping with your constitutional rights. Multiple things getting affected with one single, you could say, one single activity that AI may do can actually go about encompassing into multiple legal domains. And yes, so the legislature has still yet to come to grapple with something like this. So can an organization even make an employee sign off on an employment agreement, which allows him to waive off such rights? Is it even legitimate to have something like that? Considering the employee to be in a position of power, is such an agreement even enforceable? Ideally, it's voidable. It should not be enforceable. So there are so many things that are there in this, which I think only time will answer for.
So I think one definitely does need to be careful also, right? Any closing comments from Ratan and Parag, and then I think if there is any time left, we can open to the audience. So Ratan, your views on what to watch out for in this space?
So one, I believe that banking will become more a lifestyle and therefore contextual banking than really those brick and mortar banks that you go to. Take for example, I want to buy a home and I don't necessarily need a home loan as a product. So as part of my home buying, I would have somebody helping me to do the shortlisting of the possible potential houses that I want to look at. That will be done. And then somebody will come and banker will come and help me with the loan. Then probably somebody will help me to get me a furnishing loan. Somebody would come and do event management for the housewarming party, all of that, blah, blah. So banking will become a bit of a part of the contextual ecosystem, and banking will come and insert at different places. Sure. And as someone said that next best product was popular, it was not successful, but it is more successful today. Likewise, this will be a lot more successful. But in that scenario, what is going to be even more concerning is some of the panelists spoke about is the responsible AI. With the power of analytics, and I think all of us would remember Cambridge Analytica, the infamously famous the company, it has a capability to change the wiring of a brain. I think AI has reached a stage wherein it can potentially change how we human beings behave and make us more robo, and that is a real danger, and you have to really see how to really strike a balance between the two. I think that is the sort of trend that you need to watch out.
Got it. Parag, some closing comments? We've overrun our session, and I think we've done 40-50 minutes in driving innovation in AI and analytics without talking about ChatGPT. I think that we will leave it after for the next session. So thank you so much. I think it was an interesting and insightful conversation personally for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So thank you so much, dear panelists. Thank you.